Okay, we're ready.
Good evening, everybody. I am Dr. Sib Brown, a contributor for the Tennessee Tribune. We are celebrating 30 years. Mrs. Rosetta Miller Perry founded the paper in 1991 to bring positive stories, information, access, everything to the Black community. Tonight, I am thrilled to have a friend and colleague with us. Dr. Kisha Simmons is a professor of analytics at Belmont University. She is gracing us with her time right now. Remember, back in the day, some of you said, if you had known then what you know now. I wish I had known that person when. Well, this is that moment. This is that little window of time where we have access to her, because I have a feeling some things are going to blow up fairly quickly. Within the last couple of weeks, you've seen her, or some of you may be aware that she was in People Magazine, featured in People Magazine, as well as the Business Insider. She's a serial entrepreneur, a newlywed, and a mother. So Dr. Kisha Simmons, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. This is an exciting time for the Tribune, and so I'm just so thankful and honored to be your guest.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're from Indianapolis, correct?
I am the daughter of two teen parents from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm a city girl. And I always start with that because I want people to understand that even though they see the accolades and in the way that you've described me, I'm just an average girl, grew up in the city, daughter of teen parents who worked hard to try to make a good life for us. And I want to really connect with people and let them know that I'm just like them. And if I did it, they can do it.
Now, did you plan to be a professor? Like when you were growing up, did you plan to teach?
You know, when I was growing up, I really did not have any hopes or dreams or aspirations. When people would ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know. I never knew. And it wasn't until one day I was walking down the hall in high school. Believe it or not, I wasn't great in school. I was actually pretty truant because of all the things that was going on in my life and in the neighborhood and my parents and everything. And so I saw a flyer for Historically Black College Tour. And at the time I looked at it and I said, Historically Black College Tour. I was so intrigued. And it was one of those flyers that had the numbers across the bottom and you could tear it off. Remember those? You ripped the number off? Yes. Well, that's what I did. I took that number and I couldn't wait to get home and call about it. Thank God I did. And I saw that because then I was exposed to the idea of going to college. And I was able to fundraise from my family members to gather up enough money and go on that tour. And Dr. Sib, it changed my entire life going to college. So no, prior, I had no clue about what a professor did or that somebody like me. My mother dropped out of high school at 17. My dad graduated high school, but he went to the Marines. And so I didn't know anything about college or college professors. So going to college, attending Tennessee State University, getting my degree, loving my professors so much, that implanted in me that, wow, they helped me so much with my life. I want to be that. That's who I want to be. And so and thank God, I did graduate. I went to work in industry for a bit in technology. I have a degree in information systems. So I worked for Caterpillar Financial, got my 6 Sigma black belt. But in my heart, I knew I really wanted to work with young people and students and those who wanted to get into higher education. And so luckily, I was able to do that and go back and pursue my PhD. And here I am today. College professor.
In Nashville. How did you get here? You just stayed here after Tennessee State, obviously. What brought you to TSU?
So that college tour exposed me to Tennessee State University. If it were not for that college tour, I would still be in Indianapolis. I'm sure of it. I'm absolutely sure of it. But that changed the whole trajectory of my life. And so once I received my bachelor's, worked for Caterpillar Financial, they paid for my master's degree, which was a nice bonus. But I knew in my heart, I still wanted to be a teacher. Or at the heart, I'm a teacher. And so I was able to pursue my PhD at the University of Mississippi, not too far away. All right. I lived in Memphis. And what can I say? All the signs aligned, and it just brought me back to Nashville eventually. So a professor here, a tenured professor at Belmont. I'm actually the first African-American to receive tenure in the analytics department at Belmont, and only the second person of color in the College of Business. So I'm really, really thankful for that.
Making history. But I'm gonna put a pin in, I'm like the preacher, I'm gonna put a pin in something you said just to make sure people heard what you said. You got your master's paid for.
I did.
And this is what I think a lot of people are missing. They're getting advanced degrees, but they're paying exorbitant amounts of money. Some companies and corporations may pay for your master's. Sometimes you can work at the university and get discounted or your master's. There's other ways, graduate assistantships, tuition assistantships. Ask questions. Find out what's out there so that you're not just spending money unnecessarily.
Absolutely. So I was able to get tuition reimbursed through my workplace. And a lot of people don't understand, when you go to get your PhD, most of the time, if you decide to go full time and you go to an accredited university, you actually don't pay tuition. I didn't have to pay any tuition at all. And so I lived off campus because I was an adult and I didn't want to live in a dorm. And so thankfully, I was able to, just work at the university teaching classes, and they gave me a stipend to help me get by, but I didn't have to pay tuition for my PhD. And that's something I want a lot of people to understand. But you do have to take the risk. You have to take what we call a leap of faith, right? And you have to cut the cord on the job to do it full time and get it and do it. And then they typically will go ahead and fund you once you make that commitment to them.
Mm-hmm. And the younger you are, the longer you make that money. One of my mentors told me, I earned mine at 30, 31 years old because a mentor said, the sooner you get it, the longer you can make money at that level. That's not to say PhDs make a lot of money, because It really does depend where you are and what school you're at. Dr. Scott Hawley, colleague from Belmont, says also grad school in the hard sciences is always paid for via teaching assistantships or research assistantships. And that's important for us to know. Because again, these are just hidden information that you're just not aware of.
Exactly. That's why I always say it's important to have a mentor. And I'm so thankful to you. You've been mentoring me for years. You've given me so much wise advice that I could have never found in a book or documentaries or trying to Google it. So find a good mentor and don't be afraid to say, I'm new at this, or I'm early in my career, or even if you're switching careers, ask and say, would you mind just mentoring me, having a conversation with me maybe once a month if I reach out to you, have a phone call? Is that okay? Would you mind doing it? And I've never known anybody to tell somebody no to something like that, because you really need that to learn from someone who's been there or someone who's invested in you. So thank you, Dr. Sid, for, you inspired me to write my book. I've never told you that. I've never told you that. And I'm telling you that right here. When your book came out and I bought your book, I remember I said, I want to buy your book. And you said, yep, go to Amazon. Here's the link. And I bought it and I ordered it. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. I could write a book too. Just seeing someone who looks like me, right? Who's been there, someone I aspire to be. You were tenured. You were just making so many moves. Emmy, just all these different accolades that you have. I thought, wow, that's a great example for me. Let me follow in her footsteps. So thank you so much for being that for me.
Welcome. And I'm learning to accept that. Sometimes you're like, thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that. And mentoring goes both ways, because see, now I'm about to learn from you. I haven't been. So it works mutually. So mentorship is critical.
Critical.
Money mentors. We're here to talk about. So Dr. Simmons, tell us how you started learning to even think about money, because a lot of times we're not.
So financial
lady, so important. And I'm so thankful that I'm so thankful
that 750,000
Miss Rutledge.
I'm hitting.
Okay, great. All right. So I'm so thankful for you bringing me on today, because this is what I love to talk about. I want to educate people on financial literacy that is out there, but it seems so inaccessible. All right. So what happened to me, I don't want to happen to anyone else. So what happened to me, first of all, I grew up humble because I have a hard time saying the P word. Okay. I grew up humble and I carried that with me most of my life. But once I got the PhD, I thought, wow, I finally arrived. I've made it. I can afford to have the nice car. I can afford to get the 5-bedroom house, right? I worked hard. I deserve it. And I did all those things. And then unfortunately, I went through a separation with my spouse at the time. And when he moved out abruptly, okay, because of our relationship situation, all those childhood memories of being in that situation where not always knowing if you're going to have enough and just being very unstable, all of those feelings came rushing back to me. And through the divorce, all I could think of is if I lose my job, I will be on the streets. That was the only thing that was going through my mind every single night, because I was carrying all of a sudden all of those bills by myself. Mm-hmm. And so that's what got me into gear. And I said, no more. What am I thinking? I have just forgotten everything that I went through growing up. No, I can't let this happen. So I got serious about money. I sold the house. And a lot of people say, why would you sell a house? That's good debt. If I hear one more person tell me that a house is good debt, if I could be a millionaire by now, if the number of people tell me a house is good debt. A house is good debt for you if you can afford it, if your family is living in it, and that's how you want to invest your money. For me, it was not good debt because it was straining me. I was what they call house poor. My mortgage was $24.10 a month. That was my mortgage. That was not the $300 electric bill. That was not the $200 every 2 weeks lawn care, because it was a half an acre lot, right? So, all these other expenses come into play. For me, that wasn't wise. So don't always just think about what you think you've been told you're supposed to do. Go to college, get a job, buy a house, get a nice car, get married, have kids. You really got to think about those things yourself. Does that work for your life? Okay. So I sold that house, Dr. Sib. I said, now I've got a little lump sum. It was about $30,000. And I said, what can I do with this money? I know I had about $5,000 in cash. After the divorce, everything gets split up. I had about $5,000 in cash. I had about $125,000 in my 401ks from over the years that I've had at different jobs. And I said, I've got this 30K. What can I do? And you know what the pivotal thing was? I learned about the stock market. I learned about the stock market, and I wanted to learn everything there was to know for an average person like me who works a full-time job. I can't day trade. I don't have time to learn it. I just want to know, how can I get a better return on my money to help me become financially secure? That was my goal.
And so, okay, so you're shifted into a new reality.
Yeah.
All of a sudden the bills are different. Two things come to my mind. Let me say this. It is unusual for people to share their money, to tell you what the mortgage is. Yeah. What helped you to start sharing that publicly? Let me start there, and then I'm gonna come back to another question.
Well, I'll say that one thing I've learned is that a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And I know that if I want to have more money, I need to be honest with where I am. If I'm going to talk to a mentor about, I need more money, I need to create more income, here's what I have, here's what I'm doing. Like, I can't hide it. I've got to be open. And it's not easy, because we're taught that you don't tell people how much money you make. You don't tell people how much money you have. You keep those things secrets. But honestly, that is why we have a wage gap. That is why we are historically underpaid. We're overeducated and we're underpaid, because we're not talking about money. And I just think it's sad. And and so if it starts with me, if that helps by me being vulnerable, and everybody just pray with me that nobody comes try to knock at my door to say, give me some of that money. I saw you read, I saw, on People magazine, you have all this money, give me some of it. Hopefully nobody does that, because obviously I don't have it here anyway. But I knew that it was important to share it. And my significant other now told me, Kisha, you have to shed light on the wealth that you've built now, because you need to show other people what's possible. Because he honestly didn't know until we got really, really serious. And I told him, and he was blown away, shocked, because he said, well, you live so humble. I would have never guessed. Remember, I told you I sold that house and moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment. And he's like, you live so humble. I would have never guessed that you have almost $800,000. Like, how, And so let's talk about it, because I want to be wealthy. You want to be wealthy, and that's okay to say. Put it in the atmosphere and put it out there. It's like a vision board, or putting your goals, turn your goals into reality. You want wealth? Let's talk about it.
Which is an uncomfortable conversation, in particular with religious circles, because we look at, the love of money is the root of all evil. And Petey Greene was a radio talk show host, and some of you may know the name. Petey Greene, there's a movie called Talk to Me. Don Cheadle is in it. Go find that movie and watch it. It's worth whatever you
Talk to Me. It's called Talk to Me. I love Don Cheadle. I'm going to write that down.
And Petey Greene basically said, the love of money is the root of all evil, not having it. And he, because we have to change our attitudes, because a lot of times we approach money based on how we were raised, our mentality, community, parents, etc. So when we start talking about money, it's not a comfortable conversation. So when you said you started to live more humbly, what did you do? Like, what did you shifted to a smaller apartment? What other changes did you make?
Yeah, I definitely want to share this, because this helped me find more money in my current paycheck to invest. All right. Because to get from 125 to 750, that's a big jump. And I couldn't have done it without the stock market, but you got to have extra money to put in the stock market. So here's what I did. The first thing I did was sold the house. The second thing I did was I went through my budget line by line. All right. So if you don't have a budget, I know people hate the budget word, but how will you ever know if you're wealthy if you don't even know what you're spending money on? You'll never know. Okay. So so I have my budget. It's in Google Sheets is what I use. And it's a formula. And if anybody wants to grab the one I have, you can go to my Etsy shop. I have an Etsy shop called the Unlikely Achiever, the Achiever Shop. And so it's a spreadsheet in Google Sheets. So it's in the cloud. And it starts at the top with my paycheck. So gross income, federal taxes, Social Security, and it will deduct. You just put the amounts in and it will deduct all the way down. And then I have all my expenses, cable, electric, water bill, automobile, if you have that, insurance, all the way down. And it will automatically deduct everything for you so that you know what you have left. So what I did is I went through every single line item and decided, how can I reduce this expense? So the first one at the top, obviously, federal income taxes. How do we reduce federal income taxes? Dr. Sib, this was a game changer for me. Everybody has heard of a 401k. Everybody has heard of a 403b or 401a, whatever your workplace has. Everybody knows what that is. But most people don't know what to invest it in. They don't know how much of their paycheck they should be investing in. Most people have no clue even what the maximum amount you can put in it. Most people think as long as they put their match into it. So if my company gives me 5%, I put the 5. Oh, I'm doing good. I'm getting to the match. No, that is the floor, people. That's the minimum you should be putting into it for more than one reason. Number one, compound interest, which we've heard of. The stock market in 2017 was up, I believe it was 21%. 21%. In 2018, it was down. It was a negative 4%. In 2019, it was up 31%. And when I say up, I mean growth. So interest, dividends, capital gains, 31%. Where are you going to go and invest your money and get a 31% return in 1 year? 2020, the year of the pandemic, the S&P 500 had gains of 15%. Yeah, I have to remember the number exactly. 15% in the year of the pandemic. Okay. So it's sometimes down, it's sometimes up, but over time, the average is 6%. So I said, okay, knowing that, how can I reduce my taxes? I need to invest my 401k to the maximum.
Mm-hmm.
The maximum for this year is $19,500.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm doing it cold turkey. I'm going to invest that much for the year. So you just divide that by 12 months or however many pay periods you have. And you tell HR, take this amount out, take it off. And they take it off the top. That immediately reduces your tax burden. Immediately. Then I learned about something else. So all my reading and researching on how to grow my money, I learned about something called a 457 account.
And I'm taking notes. Okay, now let's go.
Let's get to the good stuff. If you work at a university, if you are a nurse, a doctor, policeman, firefighter, if you work in the state, some of these types of occupations that serve others, they have something called a 457. A 457 is called deferred compensation. Okay, deferred compensation. What that means is instead of your workplace paying you that money, you can say, you know what, don't pay it to me directly. I just want it to be invested. And that money will typically be invested at the same place that your 401k is. So at the university level, we have TIAA-CREF for our 403B. A new account is opened at TIAA-CREF, and it's called the deferred compensation. And that money goes in there. And then I decide how I want to invest it the same way that I decide how I want to invest the 403B money. What happens is when I leave my workplace, my current workplace, I can start to receive the money as a payout. So I can say I want it every month. I can say, give me the whole lump sum or whatever. So if I want to retire early, or which is what most people use it for, or if I just move a job, or if I'm laid off, if I'm fired or you know, whatever separation happens with the company, I can then access that money as income. And then at that point, I'll pay the taxes. So it's a great benefit because again, it reduces your taxable income. So from 20, let's see, you got $19,500 for your 403B. Then you have another $19,500 that you can max out your 457. So almost 40,000. What is that? 39,000 a year. You can put into the stock market tax deferred. So that's going to reduce your salary by that amount of money. So your taxes are reduced in your working years. And then you're going to let that money grow in the stock market. Remember, I told you all those fantastic numbers in 2017, 20% down, -4%, 31. So you can have your money invested and grow over the years to build true wealth. So that was the first thing that I did, was focus on reducing those federal taxes, by investing to the max.
Okay. So now you're talking larger numbers than most people may have to manage.
Yes.
That may be intimidating.
Yes.
So how do you start when you're not making a whole lot? So you're graduating from college and you're starting with your first job. How should you approach that with what you've learned? If you knew what you know now, what would you do?
Exactly. So remember earlier you said that what I wish I would have known. I'm telling you this now so that you can go ahead and start making these changes wherever you are. In 2017, do you think that I was able to just put in 40K? No, absolutely not. When I sold the house and I moved to the small 2-bedroom apartment, that savings went into that 401k, right? So where you are today, you're likely spending all your money because you've made your lifestyle fit your income. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That's what you've done. You say, I've got this income. I'm going to make a lifestyle that fits that income. So what I did is I reduced my lifestyle. And then with the extra, I invested. So if you're just starting out right out of college, you're in a perfect place to force yourself, almost challenge yourself to put as much into those tax deferred accounts now at an early age. If you do that at 22, at 42, you certainly can be retired probably likely a millionaire, if you're really honest with yourself about it, because of 20 years of time of investing in the stock market, putting in, letting it sit, consistently funding it. You're setting yourself up for a great path. And there are plenty of people who have done it. All right. They're just not all talking about it in circles that we're used to seeing or hearing. Okay. So here's a couple other things. I'll just give one or two, and then you let me know if you have another question or if there's any questions in the chat. One thing you can do when you're going through your line items, number one, I always tell people, cut the cable cord. Cut it. If you want to really, truly invest more money in the stock market, you're going to have to cut something. Like, it's not going to just magically appear and you got an extra $500 a month to spend in the stock market. It doesn't work like that. You have to make some uncomfortable decisions. Was it uncomfortable for me to leave a 5-bedroom house to go to a 2-bedroom? Yeah, that was a bit, I wanted to do it. And I was like, let's do it. But when I got to the 2-bedroom, it was a little uncomfortable at first. Mm-hmm. Okay. So cut the cable, cut the cable, cut the cable, cut the cable, and get the Amazon Fire Stick and Netflix. That's what I do. Or get the Fire Stick with Amazon and Hulu. You want to watch your NBC shows and, different shows that come on the premium channels. A lot of that stuff is on Hulu. Okay. So the second one I give you, then I'll let you chime in, is, which one do I want to do? It's so many good ones. It's just hard to say. I would say, but what I personally did was switch my phone provider. Okay. So I went from Verizon to Mint Mobile. And I did that because my phone bill was typically around $100 a month, right? That's what most of us pay. And they really got us when they gave us this whole unlimited plan, because we think we need unlimited. Well, once I realized, again, I went through those line items. Guess what? I don't use more than 3 gigabytes a month. Why would I need unlimited? I never use more than 3 gigabytes a month. So that was already wasting too much money. Then when I found out about Mint Mobile is $15 a month. So I go from $100 a month to $15 a month. That's a no-brainer. I could pay that in one bill for $180 for the whole year for me. That's a no-brainer. It's
coverage. Mint Mobile has the same coverage as an AT&T and a Verizon. Mint
Mobile is on the T-Mobile network. So if T-Mobile is in your area and you like T-Mobile, then you'll do just fine. Okay. If your area doesn't work great for T-Mobile, then that may not work for you. But I have an iPhone X. They send you a SIM card. You just pop it in. I know that sounds intimidating, but it's not. Trust me, it's not hard. And I tried it out for 30 days. I kept my current service. I didn't just cold turkey cut off my service because I wanted to try it. So I cut off, put in the new SIM card, went with Mint Mobile for a month, tested it out. It worked for me. And then I just cut off my old service because I wasn't under a contract and I owned my phone. So if you're paying on your phone, you need to pay that off first before you switch. But those two things, and I will say this, because I have been promoting them so much for free in all these magazines, because they asked me, what'd you do? Now Mint Mobile we're working together. And so I would love it if you're going to give it a try to use my code, because that helps me. And I can put that in the chat to give it a try. And they've got some really exciting things coming that I'm going to be partnering with them on to help the people that I work, that I speak with, and the audiences that I work with, to help us even more with some cost savings. So I'm really excited about what's going to be coming that way.
Leveraging relationships. That makes sense. We've got 2 questions in chat.
Okay,
one dealing with the mobile phones. So do you just switch SIM cards?
Yes. Yeah. You just So you have your phone, and on the side, if you take your case off, there's just like this little slot, and you can get a paper clip and eject the slot, and there's just a little tiny SIM card. Every phone has it, and you'll take it out, and whatever company you bought the phone from. So I bought mine from Verizon. It'll have the Verizon SIM card in it, and you just switch the SIM card to the Mint Mobile. You start your phone back up. You'll have the Mint Mobile app, download that first, and then you'll be using the Mint Mobile for however much time you want to test it out. It's really, I mean, it's a game changer.
I think it's just psychological. It's psychological. You know, you grew up with the Bells, the Ma Bell or Bell, whatever, and you're used to these big companies. But now in this age, things have shifted. We're going to talk about the other Mint in a moment also. You got Mint Mobile, but you've also, in terms of, you mentioned Google Sheets for budgeting, there are mobile apps like Mint that are out there as well. Let me get to the other question. So Esther Baptiste, thank you for your question. By reducing taxes with investing, does that reduce your adjusted gross income?
Yes. So everybody is looking at that because of the stimulus, right? Do I get a stimulus? Let me go find my adjusted gross income. Yes, it does, because that's money you're not accessing, right? So it because it comes off the top. You never received the money, basically. So that money is tax deferred. It's like the IRS is just saying it's kind of not in picture right now, right? Because it's you're not using it. You don't have access to it. It's put away. It's kind of sitting over to the side. So yes, it reduces your adjusted gross income. Yes.
Okay. Now you use the FIRE method. We're going to get back to Dave Ramsey. So years ago, when I first moved here, I worked at News Channel 5 as an associate producer back in '94. And Dave Ramsey had just published that book, Financial Peace.
Yes.
So I think that was his first financial book, because he had just gone bankrupt and had to rebuild himself. And now he's known internationally for money. So the financial independence, retire early. Talk about FIRE.
FIRE is what I learned about when I was in that house, that 5 big bedroom house, all alone, just felt swallowed up, was sad, depressed, and wondering what I was going to do next. And I started doing research, and I came across something called FIRE. And I said, wow, what is this? Again, that same moment when I was a young girl and I saw that flyer, and I was so intrigued, and that one thing changed my life. That's what FIRE did. That one, being exposed to this concept of FIRE, changed my entire life. So basically what it is you making a commitment to yourself to say,
He took her out and he brought her back in.
But I'm going to live below my means, okay? And then I'm going to invest the rest of the money. And the more I invest,
Now I'm talking back out.
I don't have access to.
I'm trying to find who it is.
it's I think it's Denise
Thank
Hamilton.
You. Got it.
Okay. All right. So FIRE basically is just saying, I'm going to live below my means, because remember earlier I said we build our lifestyle around the income that we make. So it's basically doing the opposite. It's saying, I want to build my income. I want to build my lifestyle around how soon I want to retire. So if I want to retire in 10 years, I need to start investing and saving. I think it's 30 something % of my income. So depending on how soon you want to retire, and I can find it because it's on my website, which I have a blog that I just so much information. So basically my journey, everything that I've been learning, I put it on my blog. So if you go to my website and go to my blog, you can read all of these things that I'm telling you here, everything that I'm telling you here. But basically you decide that I want to invest more money than the standard, what Dave Ramsey would tell you, 10% or 15%. I want to invest more than that. I want to invest maybe 25% of my income or 30% of my income. Or some people like me, I invest 60% of my income.
Okay.
Did I start there? No. Did I start and just bloop? 40Ks? No, I had to start where I was, but I made a conscious decision in FIRE to say, I want to become financially independent. So financially independent can mean basically what it means is I can live off of my investments. If I have $1 million in the stock market, that will make about 6%. Remember I told you about that 6% earlier that the stock market makes? If the stock market makes about 6% and I decide I'm going to take 4% of it a year to live on, okay, this is important. I hope everybody's paying good close attention. If the stock market, if my lump sum in the stock market is $1 million, and I know the stock market makes 6% on average, sometimes it's way more, sometimes it's less. But if I know that the average is about 6 and I take about 4%, so that's $40,000 a year, that lump sum should last me about 30 plus years. Okay. So basically, this is what we've always been taught, that you can have a lump sum of money and just live off the dividends. That's what we know, we've heard, we understand that concept. That's the same process. If my $1 million makes 60,000 and I just take 40,000 of it to live on, when it's up, that means my nest egg grows. When it's down, that means my nest egg may take some out, but when it was growing, it went up anyway. And I just need about that 40K a year adjusted for inflation to live on. So that's my goal. My goal is to build my nest egg to the point where I can live off of my dividends. That is the whole concept of FIRE.
And it's still making money. So it's not you withdrawing the actual principal. This is just living off of dividends, meaning you can leave money for children and grandchildren.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. Which is a different thought process. So what books have you read?
Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin. I highly suggest people start with that one because it's not just about learning how to invest in the stock market. It's about reducing your expenses and deciding what you value. Because people spend money on things they truly don't value. But because you have the money, I'll just go to grocery shop at Publix. I don't have anything against Publix. I love Publix. I love their deli, their bakery. I love that. But if I know that I'm trying to reduce my costs, I'm not going to go and shop at Publix every time I shop because I know the prices are higher for the experience that they give you than if I went to Aldi. Right? If I go to Publix, they're going to drive that card out for me and help me put it in the car. And Aldi, guess what? You're on your own. They're not even going to bag it up for you. But I'm willing to pay less money to invest more of my money. So that's where I shop. So Your Money or Your Life, Vicki Robin, and then Quit Like a Millionaire is one I always brag about, because that's where I learned about the 457. So I'll forever be grateful to that book. It's called Quit Like a Millionaire. Okay. Those two. Also, Dr. Dennis Kimbro, A Wealth Choice, is a very important book that I think everybody should also read, because this is another mindset book, because you got to get your mind right first before you can actually start implementing exactly how to invest in the stock market.
Mm-hmm. And one of the best ways to make money is to teach other people how to make money. It is. It makes sense.
It is. And that's why I do workshops. Because I've had so many people reaching out saying, could you help me? Could you be my mentor? Could you be my financial mentor? And people have actually started calling me that. I was like, I like that, financial mentor. And yeah, I don't mind helping, but it does get a little bit challenging when it's so many people at once. So that's why I started doing workshops. And I like to do live workshops so that I can help you one-on-one. And there's actually some people on here that I won't call out their names, but there are a couple of people here who have taken my workshop. If they want to chime in and say how great it was, they can. I didn't even know they were going to be here. But I do that so that I can help you. And they're usually small groups, no more than about 15 people on the workshop. So via Zoom, and we talk about, whether it's the budgeting workshop where we really dig into your line items, and see in the chat there, we're digging into your your specific budget line items and go through how you can save money, where I can see places, if I were you, where I would cut and what some substitutions are. Because a lot of people just don't know what the substitution is. You never heard of Mint Mobile and you think, oh, it's one of those. No, it's probably not great. Well, I've had Mint Mobile for years and I don't plan on switching back to another high cost carrier.
I'm going to jump in because we only have about 5 minutes left. Okay. I want to say a couple quick things. One, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in chat. We're going to end in about 5 minutes because Kisha has another appointment at 7, and we're just grateful that she took and gave us this time because, again, time is money. So 2 quick questions. The first one is, what about the fake it until you make it? You said don't eat at Publix, but then some people would say, well, hey, you got to fake it till you make it.
You know, I've been hearing that.
Publix, this is a promotion for you, by the way. We're talking about Publix. So.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, hey, I love Publix. When I want to make a nice meal with the family or their spouse, or we have family coming in, I go to Publix and get some really nice meats and things like that. I'm not saying don't shop there. I'm just saying think about what you value. And I'm honest about that. I have friends who say, oh, I love my shoes too much, honey. I couldn't do that. Well, you know what I say? Buy stock in the company of the shoes you like. You like Coach purses? Oh, I love Coach purses, girl. Coach purse, I got to get me a new Coach purse once a quarter. I said, well, take one of those quarters and get a share of stock in Tapestry stock instead of buying the purse that month, that quarter, right? So it's mindset. And so you can fake it till you make it because you're going to feel better because you're going to say, guess what? I'm actually putting money into something that's giving me money back in return. Yeah.
The other question is, you're talking about lowering your expenses. Talk about increasing those revenue streams real quick.
Okay, so quickly, one thing you can do is, you got to humble yourself at some point, right? And so think about what you're talented at and don't say, oh, I don't have any talents. Yes, you do. We all do. Okay. Every single one of us has talent. So think about what your talent is and how you can use it to serve someone else. If you would have asked me 3 months ago, would I be having a call with you about financial independence? Never. This was not something I ever said, oh, I'm going to start doing money workshops. No, this just all of a sudden, the media got a hold of this whole 750K thing and they ran with it. And all, people want to know. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing workshops on money now. Right. And so figure out what you're talented at and use that. With the internet, you can do anything over the internet. Or one thing that I also recommend, if you're kind of nervous, maybe you don't want to do Uber, Instacart is someone else that reached out to me from Instacart. All these companies are like, work with us. So now I'm working with Instacart. So Instacart is, you can go and see it on my website, but you can grocery shop for other people. And I always think about my mom. Is it a job that my mom would like to do? My mother can get in the grocery store in 10 minutes, she's out of there with a whole basket of groceries, right? So maybe that's something you like to do. Nobody will even know what you're doing. You can be an Instacart shopper. Nobody even knows that's what you're doing. They think you're shopping for yourself. So that's something you can do to make extra money. So just think about some of those things. And there's plenty more on my website, LaKeishaSimmons.com.
We have time for one last question in the chat.
All right. Do you invest in stocks via traditional brokerage or via some kind of online service or app? Great question. Traditional
brokerage. And I'm not going to name any because, again, I'm about to work with a really big company. So I'm not going to name any specific ones, but I would only recommend, I've never used these apps. I know people say, oh, I do Cash App or I do this or that. I don't do that. I stick with somewhere where I have great customer service, where I could call and talk to somebody at any given time. And it has the lowest fees in the industry. That's what I stick with.
Okay. And you talked about Roth IRAs a little bit.
Roth is great. You still have some time to contribute, but you're going to have to read about that on my website because we have about a minute. So I have a whole blog post on the Roth IRA, and it might be right on the homepage where that is. Yeah.
Excellent. We're going to say thank you. Thank you all for coming and sharing with us. Again, this is part of the Tennessee Tribune web series celebrating the 30th anniversary.
I want to
Yes.
give a discount code. I'm going to put it in the chat. It's net worth, all one word. So anybody who wants to take a course, a workshop, take 10% off on me just for even listening to this and being really excited about your financial freedom. Use the code net worth to take 10% off.
Well, thank you. That's a bonus. That's it
It is
right there, right?
I love helping people. That's
Save
why I'm
money to
doing it.
make money. So thank you again, Dr. Simmons. Thank you all for being with us again on behalf of the Tennessee Tribune. Please go to tntribune.com and donate. If you're enjoying these series, enjoying the new stories, check out the website, check out what's going on. So a lot of energy and excitement is brewing within this 30-year celebration. So from Dr. Sib and the Tennessee Tribune crew, thank you, Dr. K. Dawn Rutledge, our producer. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Thank you.